Hey, what is up? Welcome back, Design Squad. Thanks so much for your submissions for UX portfolio review. And today I'm going to review one of the UX designer's portfolio from NDA Mrinal portfolio, which I actually reviewed behind the scenes, I think, back in the day. And now she made a new version, which she's really proud to show off and ask for more feedback. And so without further ado, let's jump into it. And I'm gonna just deconstruct and quickly go through some of the pointers which I like and I think she also could improve. So as you can see on my screen, I have her portfolio. It's very clean, very simple. She's just saying that she's passionate about exploring digital and physical spaces and the impact that design can have on people, communities, and businesses. You're then invited to download her resume, which she uses as a key call to action element to then convince them to explore more. It seems like she has a good hunch for, the visual design and keeping things clear, not cluttered. That's great. Next, she has some featured work projects where she has a few cases described. And this is where the interesting caveat is, because she doesn't link it anywhere. She hints that she worked for that brand, what she did on a high level, some tags basically explaining what's design, or if she'd added some usability testing, if she did some design system work, things of that nature, but she doesn't showcase what's under NDA, I guess. I presume that. And this is one way to skin a cat here, because if you, let's say, have several cases and big clients, you can still hint who they are, what was the high-level issue, I guess. What was the solution, without giving too much insight or touching the intellectual property. Other bits besides listing what she was responsible for is to put the time, for example. This is something you could still hint at. So let's say it's 3 months, 1 month, 5 weeks, 6 months, a year, stuff like that, and give a bit more insight of what you were busy with. And I guess this is almost like a different representation of a resume. And what I would invite Mrinal to do is as well add a call to action saying that if you want to find out more about these, why not to schedule a coffee, why not to contact her, why not, if she has some sort of material she could share on a PDF, request for that. So I would add a call to action asking to do that of the viewer, of, let's say, hiring manager. And chances are maybe you're going to use this portfolio for potential interviews, but also maybe this is almost like a placeholder continuously to just have a face on the internet. For example, myself, my key portfolio cases are all in PDFs. So they're all slides of PDFs I can assemble, disassemble, and if I would want to apply for a new job, I could just take that PDF, send it to a recruiter or a hiring manager, or add to application and call it a day. But my key website is a blog. It's also hinting at some of the cases, capabilities. I should definitely redesign it, but for now I don't care, because I wouldn't really use my key website to to get that assessment and to get that decision made for me to kind of go into interviews. I would use my PDF and my resume. So maybe that's what she's doing as well, and that's one way to do that. Other bit what I notice immediately, what I would suggest Mrinal to do is really just reassess the tags. For example, user experience design is almost like a blanket statement which should have strategy in it, should have user research in it, should have some product design or interaction design underneath, UI design. So I would maybe either bin this kind of like a parent statement which hosts all those different child activities inside, or I would do something else. As far as lead UX activities, I would be a bit more specific. If you did some project planning, or you did some budgeting, or you did mentoring, coaching of the colleagues, or you were senior to them, I would just list that simply and plainly, because it's almost impossible to tell what did you do as a lead. If you led, was it just a hands-on, or you were leading the capability, or you were leading a design team? There's a lot of things which could have been there, and it's hard to tell what we are. Another bit what I notice is how you phrase the different bits here. For example, redesigned, 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 redesigned. I would focus more on the solution itself rather than what you did, because you already say what you did here, and I can almost have a rough idea what you did. So design to redesign becomes redundant. I would focus more on the benefit. I would focus more on the outcomes. And so just rephrasing that and marketing and using that UX copy to convince the hiring manager that this project is actually interesting case they would want to hear in the interview, in the next stage, if they're actually convinced. So I would maybe rephrase that, make it a bit more salesy, represent what you did and what was the key outcomes. And then she's listing the concept projects, which is basically a couple of cases, which I really like. Even if she cannot showcase some sort of NDA material, she can then showcase some thinking in the case she worked on her own. And this is awesome for anyone. For example, myself, I have some cases which I had some entrepreneurial efforts on my website and my portfolio. You could do the same. If you're a junior, if you're a senior, if you cannot represent a lot publicly, why not to make a project? Why not to go out there and solve someone's issues using the human-centric, user research-driven approach to solve those issues? You can document everything across the way, push that into your blog, push that into your portfolio as a conceptual case, and that's totally fine. As long as you're clear that this is where you kind of explored and experimented with the methods and you want to enrich your portfolio. The hiring managers are not going to care if it's real or not. They're going to, of course, focus on the real outcomes, on a commercial experience, but conceptual work adds that extra level, extra notch to all the statements. And then in the end she jumps into call to action elements. I would maybe divide this call to action into two. One is to contact and clear contact, and another one would be, you know, with all the social links and things of that nature. So there is some sort of architecture to the menu system as well as social media, but also one key call to action element, which is gonna kind of like complete the story and allow hiring manager to immediately contact you if they don't have already your contact details, by the way. And of course, if we cover the portfolio as a whole, as a medium, she's a designer, hustler, and dreamer. She has 7 years of experience. This is all good. Basically, as a hiring manager, I would literally go through this like that and just read in. If something really attracts my eye, I would read into it what it means. But it's really, you know, I have maybe 5 minutes to look at it. She summarizes work experience, the skills, toolbox, clients, and that's it. That's great. That's great about page. I mean, it's simple and clear. She has a blog of a couple of posts as well, which are quite related to design, but also not so much. And so it gives a bit of breadth to it. I would probably add more related stuff to your work. I would keep, you know, the productivity and things of that nature and just general well-being writing here as well, but also add a bit more, maybe a few more articles so it looks a bit richer. If someone is interested, they could actually read into it and then contact us. But if we go to projects, I just want to check one of the cases and give maybe some pointers to the case. See, it's rescue, it's safety surveillance product, a digital product created to maintain visitor safety and reduce accidents in national parks. This is very interesting. Duration is quite short, so it was almost like a week project. Immediately it gives me an overview that is going to be very lean, very quick type of problem solving and understanding. So she's describing what it is, read more, which she links into an article. But that's where immediately, if we jump into that article, as you can see, I have a lot of different metrics which basically describe the issue, and that's what I would just advise Mrinal to do, is literally just bullet points what's the issue was, literally challenges or something like that. Bullet point, 318 million of XYZ experience this issue. Bam, everybody knows exactly what was the issue. You don't need to kind of like rephrase it and add too many words. Basically here, I like that you add quotes. You then basically, I guess, ideated who the target users are. If you didn't ideate but you researched, I would list exactly how did you arrive at that, because this is kind of like your proto personas. I would argue if it really are that many of the proto personas, perhaps one or two were enough, especially if it's such a short effort. Have the goals, you have user tasks, design solution, describe. So you basically went scenario by scenario describing it, and then you have some sort of other solutions and summary, and then you have a call to action. And so what's missing here, I would explore a little bit more your thinking behind the scenes, even if it was super lean effort and you just ideated on a spot of what you could do. Well, how did you arrive at that? I would literally visually link to that. So for example, if you know that one of the issues one of your potential users face is sometimes difficult to find exact location to send help, well, I would literally take that and draw it out, and maybe next to your solution, wherever you describe that of how we could do that, maybe it's using this Apple Watch to send an alert, literally put that next to it, saying that this is what answered that, proto persona needs, let's say. Simple as that. So just linking it up so it's clear exactly how did you describe these, how did you arrive to these conclusions, and what did you do next because of the underlying insights from, let's say, user research, and as well as describing what that user research was, because you definitely got this information from somewhere. Was it online forum? Was it from Twitter? Was it from some other channel? How did you capture this? And I hope that you didn't just ideate it and just put it, your ideas out, because then it would water down the actual user research part of your project. But besides that, it's really cool. I think you just might need to kind of like tell a smaller story and maybe more succinct. For example, I don't know if you need to go into that many details into these, or at least if you do, how does that link again to that user research and the themes you discovered? So it's clear to whoever reviews it, okay, you actually had some thinking, and that thing actually links to that issue, and that's why you arrive at that feature set. And so I hope you also have a PDF which you would use alongside this, so that you can actually display some depth on these key cases. I think as it is, it's really good example of a portfolio where, let's say, you might not be able to display all the information publicly. And for everyone else, if you enjoyed this video, give a like, subscribe to this channel, leave a comment down below. I'm still open to review portfolios on a video publicly, so if you're interested in that, be explicit. Drop me a note down below or email me. There is an email in the About page of this channel. And on that note, I'll see you next time.